it's definitely a significant day for all of us, I think, on the call today. We had a really exciting first Polkadot Parachain slot auction that I think everybody on this call is probably watching. So um, extremely strong support from everyone across the Polkadot community for not only Acala, but for Moonbeam, of course, who was kind of the team that was closest with us along this first auction, and then the other teams as well. I think there's been obviously billions of dollars of DOT contributed from everyone around the world and just supporting all of these really great teams. So thanks everybody for your support there. We're definitely excited to be able to kind of finally say that we've secured our place to launch on December 18th on Polkadot. So this is really meant to just get everyone together, kind of talk through what happened during the auction, what this really means for us, and kind of talk through next steps with you. So I'll probably hand it over to Betty, and she probably has some things to say. So we'll just go through this, and then going to leave a lot of time for people to just come up and hang out, ask questions, let us know what's on your mind. So thanks again for coming.
Yeah, thanks, Dan, for the intro. I really appreciate everyone who's here and also who's not here, but supported for us and also rallied for us. So thank you so much. We really wouldn't be able to do any of this or anywhere close without you guys. And this is not just saying it. We have some really good data to back it up. And then in the next few days, we're going to release some more the auction and Crowdloan data. It's going to be really interesting to see the details and to watch how much individual contributors and also small contributors participated. So it's quite incredible to watch. So congrats to everyone. And as Dan said, in reality, folks who are going to win the first batch are all winners, right? Especially we have, probably two clear winners for the first and second slot right now. Moonbeam is going to come up. I think from our point of view is the more teams who can do well in Polkadot, and then we can do cross-chain collaboration, the better the Polkadot ecosystems are. Because every one of you, we're very much aligned. You hold DOT, right? That's how you participate. So we all want the DOT ecosystem to continue to grow with very solid tech as well as real life applications to be built to really realize the vision of Web3. And we are probably still at ground zero, even though we finished the Crowdloan, finished the auction, and getting ready to launch. But it's still a long way to get from this point and then to really taking over the internet, right? So yeah, I think going down the track as everyone getting a little bit more mature of their parachains, and there'll be more cross-chain activity hopefully upcoming, and then we can do more together. And then going back, I wouldn't go into too much detail today. I'll hopefully leave more time for you guys to kind of ask questions and kind of have a discussion. But I will just throw out some of the stats and sort of my memorable moments of the auction. So first of all, as a team, and also as one of the co-founders at Acala, before we started the Acala Crowdloan campaign, we've set some goals for ourselves. And those goals are reach a much wider distribution, and which is very important because in order to have more people on board and use our application and raise awareness, a wide range of distribution, this is like the one lifetime chance for us to do it. So that's the number one goal. And then the second goal has to do with a lot of you guys' feedback, as well as what we've learned from the Kusama launch. In the Kusama Parachain race, Karura raised, I think, also very similar amount, like 3% of the supply of KSM. However, while those only locked for 48 weeks, but still, it's kind of hibernated or kind of like temporarily dead KSM locking a Crowdloan and not doing any good for anybody, including our own ecosystems and Polkadot DeFi. So based on that feedback, the second goal we set ourselves is to achieve some level of liquidity, so that we can use that to help bootstrap the ecosystem and also help liquidity in the entire DeFi for Polkadot. That's the second goal. So I think for both of those, we're quite happy to say we've kind of well surpassed that. So for distribution, we have over 80,000 on-chain contribution. So what that means is 80,000 plus people actually use a non-custodial wallet of some sort, most likely Polkadot.js, which still have a lot of room to improve. I can't believe how many people, got through the hurdle to download and kind of use that wallet to participate, as well as through other wallet partners like Polka Wallet, Talisman, another web wallet, and other folks, right, to kind of participate. That is very significant. I'm not counting any of the exchange support at this point. We haven't got the numbers from exchange how many people participated, but all in all, I think the exchange participation will be less than 20% in total. Because that goes to the second point I'm trying to make is liquidity. So out of the 31 mil dot we raised, 24 mil, so 80% closed, is in the liquid form, in the LC dot liquid crowdloan dot format. What does that mean? That means on launch, we are gonna have 24 million dot worth of liquidity on the Acala chain. That is going to create a lot of room for innovation, right? That's going to motivate us to create utility trading facilities, and also other teams who are going to build on Acala create various different type of instruments for you to trade and use your LCDOT as well. So that 24 mil is going to be significant, over $1 billion worth of liquidity. And we wouldn't be able to do that without having people directly contribute. Anything going through exchanges or any centralized agencies, including custodial sort of agencies, wouldn't be able to kind of having that sort of more in a DeFi sense, right? Having one asset in two different places type of achievement there. So for that, I think huge congrats for everyone who kind of get the idea and also kind of trusted us through the process. I think the team's done a good job for educating everyone, but also at the same time, I think you guys somehow magically got the idea and then supported that way. So liquidity wise, it's a huge win for us. So I think with those two goals, I think we're very happy with the result, regardless whether we win or not, right? So with the winning, there's a chance at play. We somehow managed, even though it's a very close race at the beginning, we somehow managed 63 or 4% of the winning chance. But all in all, at the end, there's a bit of luck at play, whether it's Moonbeam winning or us winning. So either way, whether we win or not, that is actually not on the top priority list for our campaign. That's also why we're quite comfortably being the first to set the cap at relatively low, at a 50 mil, so that we can actually, support the rewards that we feel comfortable to provide to everyone who participated. And then at the same time, even the Crowdloan go over that and we lose, we don't care, because that's not quite the primary goal there. Of course, we are very, very happy that we actually won the first slot. But I think it's important to stress is the actual user onboarding is a huge win. And secondly, is the liquidity there is a huge win. So I'll say that much. Dan and Robin, I'll hand over to you guys to see what's next you want me to talk about, or maybe have someone to ask questions or
else. I've got just a couple other questions for you, Betty. So first, I think that's great background for everyone. I think the next question is, so now that Acala has kind of secured this spot, we know we're going to be launching on December 18th. It's the 17th or 18th, depending on where you are in the world. We know that. So could you maybe just talk through what's next for Acala? Like, what can we expect from Acala going into, December, January, Q1 of next year? And what do you see that looking like?
Yeah, sure. I think to set the scene there, Acala is gonna not gonna be as agile as Karura. So it's trying to be more safe and secure. But the process will be somewhat similar but slightly different. So when we launch on December the 15th, in Polkadot, when you say launch, there could be multiple things, right? On December 15th, there's a genesis being produced. So basically, every blockchain will start creating its first block and get it to be validated on Polkadot. So that is the sense of December 15th launch, is Genesis launch. So your blockchain start to produce block and start operating as a blockchain. And that's the starting step. And then for us, the Genesis that we created for the Crowdloan is a shell. Well, not quite a shell, but with all the functionality disabled. So when it first launched, it doesn't actually have any of the functionality that we built turned on. It's basically you can, from a user perspective, as an empty blockchain that it can produce block. It cannot do transfers. It still has a Sudoku to manage all the operation. So the idea is let the chain run for a little while to actually see whether it's stable, whether all the collators are running properly and producing block correctly. And then the next step is to run through a number of upgrades. This is a significant difference from launching other, I guess, layer one chains. You usually go at one go, and then you hope for the best, and it's going to be there forever, and very hard to change, right? Every time you change, there's a fork. So on the Polkadot ecosystem, it's very different. For Acala, we launch something without functionality, then we go through multiple upgrades without forks. So this is what through on-chain upgrade to turn on certain functionalities, add certain functions to see if the upgrade can go through smoothly. And if that process is proven, as long as a chain can operate, like produce block and be validated, and also can have the ability to upgrade, you are set for the future, basically, right? Regardless what you're going to build, if those two things are sound and proven, then you can go on basically forever, make changes, add new functions, right? So for us, after those two kind of milestones, the third milestone is to remove Sudoku. So at the beginning, there's no governance, so there's a Sudoku. So we are not going to turn on token transfers because there's an admin key, right? So then the third step is actually to remove the Sudoku and then turn on the basic governance. So we have a process of progressive decentralization. All in all, we're not an empty blockchain, so that it's not going to work if we just throw the chain out and then go completely election mode from day one, because we also have the financial protocols. You can think about, from a DeFi perspective, you can think about us more like Compound or other DeFi protocols. So to launch those protocols, you need to go through a process of the core dev team kind of hand-holding or have a training wheel to launching those protocols. And then once all of those protocols are launched and set, then it's you go fully decentralized. So in the first stage of governance, we have appointed councils, but alongside with referendum. So basically, the core council will be run by the core dev team initially, but everything is out on the public and transparent for everyone to see what proposals gone through and things like that. But for more major, like non-tech related proposals, such as if we turn on some DeFi protocols or listing certain tokens or adding new collaterals, those will go through referendums, right? So everybody in the community will have a say on what needs to be listed or against certain listings, if there's any. So things like that. So this is like a hybrid approach at the very beginning that we will launch as a governance mode. And then the progressive will go from that point. Once we launched everything, will be election will happen, so that all the council seats will be elected, and then at that point, the entire governance will be fully decentralized. But you probably don't want to do that at the very beginning when things are fragile, and also when the DeFi instruments are not fully settled on the chain. So yeah, so the first 30 days, that is the sort of the first, that's the plan. So once the governance up, Sudoku is being removed, then that's the point that we basically distribute all the tokens, including the ACA tokens from obviously Crowdloan, as well as from previous like Build Acala and other events that you participate, maybe airdrop or things like that. And then at the same time, there will also be LC dot, the liquid Crowdloan dot that everyone who contributed that way, you will also receive your LC dot token. And then once that's done, transfer will be enabled. As soon as transfer enabled, but basically the chain is at that stage, the blockchain itself is fully launched, right? So you can transfer tokens to anybody, and also any of the exchanges or any agencies that want to support Acala in terms of token transfers, they are free to do so at that point once we enable transfers, right? So that is probably the most urgent and most important first phase that we will go through there. And then after that is basically a phased approach to launch each one of our DeFi products and protocols, as well as the platform, the EVM, etc., like down the track. But I would just kind of like stop there, because I think even the first phase, there may be some questions there that folks want to ask, or we want to go into a little bit more detail.
Yep, definitely. So I think, Betty, this is a great time to just start inviting people onto the stage to ask questions.
Sure.
So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Looks like there's about 8 of you who have questions. So we'll just take you in order. So if you can, please just limit it to one question. I know a lot of people have multiple questions, but there's quite a few people who have questions. So if you can limit it to one, that would be awesome. So Arda, do you want to go next?
Hi again.
Hello.
First of all, congratulations about getting the first slot on Polkadot. It's a really big event, if you ask me. I was just checking Acala roadmap on Acala.notion that site, and I just saw that implementation of Ethereum virtual machine and smart contract is still it still looks as work in progress. So has there been any changes regarding implementing Ethereum virtual machine and smart contract? Thank you.
Yep, I can answer that one. Good question. So maybe set some context there. On the Polkadot ecosystem, we use a framework called Substrate. Most of you would know. And then the Substrate framework is very much modularized, which means you can add and remove components that has certain functionalities very easily through a runtime upgrade. And EVM, turns out EVM is Ethereum Virtual Machine. It's just one of the runtime module. So one of the module that you can just hook on, and then it has Ethereum compatibility. We could have done that, and then we would just have that, probably a year ago, and then it would just be running. However, that's not quite matching what we are trying to achieve. So for Acala, maybe to reiterate, so our thesis is building a specialized financial blockchain is our goal, because specialization is going to trump generalization. It's almost like we are kind of like betting for an iPhone approach, right? So if you want to build the best app store and then support the best apps out there, you own the entire tech stack down to the hardware. In order to do that, have the best performance, have the best customization, and also have the best support facility for finance for us. So for us, that means we will need to have the ability to actually customize the blockchain itself for DeFi use cases. Maybe a couple of quick examples, subtle, but actually if you are in the finance field, it will be important. So number one, the fee schedule, basically the economics can be customized. The economic policy can be customized. So we created a flexi fee, so any token can be used to pay gas fee. This might be irrelevant for degens, and very 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 out there DeFi users. This is probably nothing, but for everyday user, and especially when you get to the scale of businesses, institutions, fintechs that try to settle on a blockchain, if you ask them to pay fees in a currency that goes up and down 30 to 50 to 100% on a daily basis or maybe hourly basis, they would go crazy, right? So being able to settle in a stable currency is hugely important for actually mass adoption. So this is one of the first things we did is to enable this functionality on chain. So on the Acala chain, you are able to pay for transaction fees in any supported stablecoin there. So this is only one very tiny thing. We have actually a basket of things like that to actually much better facilitate DeFi functionalities. And then all of those customization in a normal sense would not be available in an Ethereum virtual machine. I'll go a little bit deeper so you understand. So an Ethereum virtual machine is like a sandbox. It's like a box. It has its certain rules, right? It has its gas fee rules. It has how to actually process the transactions and execute a smart contract. It has all of those rules constrain you. So as a smart contract developer, you have to follow those rules strictly. You have no way to actually change the box. This is why, on Ethereum, while it has, obtained a lot of adoption, but it also suffer from, wouldn't be able to move to any direction, basically making any improvements on its current infrastructure. There are a lot of very, very smart folks, coming from the Ethereum community, not because they couldn't come up with solution, but because actually being able to find a way to upgrade and also not fork the entire network, but also be able to answer everybody's needs. It's just impossible for them to do, actually technically, not quite intellectually, right? And this is why I think Gavin came out of the Ethereum Foundation as the co-founder and the person who actually wrote the Ethereum virtual machine, put a lot of thought on actually innovating from a much lower level that you could actually change the blockchain without compromising security, are able to enforce the decision that's been made collectively by the community, and also be able to enforce that by upgrading on chain without forks, right? So I mentioned that because all of the innovation we did at a lower level, at substrate level, our goal is to have the best of the both worlds, right? I think Ethereum virtual machine has its merits where there's a lot of Ethereum smart contract that has already been developed. Folks have been onboarded to that tech stack. So that we kind of recognize as a advantage of using Ethereum virtual machine. However, it has such a long list of really outdated technology on there, which I won't go into details. If you guys are interested, maybe we have a separate session with our CTO Brian to go through all the crazy stuff that Ethereum virtual machine that couldn't do, or just do it really poorly. And the smart contract developers basically just suck it up and just use whatever available. So what we're trying to create is to combine the best of both worlds, right? Substrate has this customizability, so we can optimize a lot of the operations, while the virtual machine has a great, tech, the development stack support. So we want to combine the two of them, and this is why we have to do R&D. We couldn't just use the standalone, basically the ready-built EVM palette, because that one you only just support the Ethereum test stack. It cannot tap into, say, the substrate token assets, crushing messaging. Also, more importantly, all the customization we build at a lower level. So so that's why we took the hard path. It's not easy, right? So we are basically have to do a lot of integration between the two worlds, but we don't like easy, actually. So with that integration work, this has come out to be EVM plus. Is what you heard. It's not just because Acala is doing it, then it has a plus on it. It's actually because we're doing a lot of deep innovation work at a very, very low level to build out our EVM Plus to that point. So timeframes. The EVM Plus pilot, so at the actual integration work has been finished, and we're going through some internal audit, and then later on will be externally audited. There will be a testnet, called Mandala testnet, that will have this pilot on maybe in the next couple of weeks. However, this doesn't complete the entire user experience. The other side of the user experience for Ethereum virtual machine is the client side support. This is basically supporting all the tooling, all the wallets, and everything that you use for Explorer and things like that. So that takes that is still underway. That what we call is our Ethereum adapter. So basically, we've built out the backend on the blockchain. That part's done, and then we now build the front end, the client side. So that developer come on board, then they can have the full compatibility experience there. So so it's not an easy task, but we are making really good progress on that, and then we're going to constantly release small chunk of the compatible part, so folks can actually start trying it and then provide us feedback, and then until the point that we are comfortable to release the full client, and then folks can start using it. So that's a long way to answer your short question, but I hope that helps.
That helped really so much. Thank you for having me. I'm going to head down to listeners. See ya.
Thank you.
Thanks, Arda. Now it might be a great time to kind of reset, since we have so many new people joining the spaces. Betty, you just mentioned that maybe we'll have another session in the future featuring Brian, more like technical. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that, the Acala community, the Karura community, we're always having events, a lot like this one. And we have a Discord channel. You can find the link in the Acala Twitter profile link tree. Just stay tuned. If you're just onboarding the community, welcome. And if you've been with us for a long time, thank you so much for the support. Just to reiterate what we're celebrating today, Acala has won the first Polkadot Parachain slot auction. So that puts us amongst the 5 teams that are going to begin onboarding and launching on Polkadot on December 17th, and initiating our launch process. We're so pleased and amazed at the level of support with 81,172 on-chain participants and over 32 million DOT contributed. So it's an amazing, momentous occasion, but more so, we're celebrating the beginning of this multi-chain ecosystem on Polkadot, and we're really looking forward to see what the outcomes for the next 4 auctions are going to be, and who's going to be joining us, because there's so many strong teams. So with that said, I'm going to turn it back to you guys. I'm going to go down the list and invite the next speaker I had. Rishi, would you be able to go ahead with your question?
Hey, hi, good afternoon or good morning, everyone.
Hi.
So, first of all, the Acala team, it's congratulations on your well-deserved success. Okay, Dan, Betty, and everyone there in the Acala team has a huge success. So it's a pretty good news. Okay, so I have one question. So it again, Betty, as you know, so. Are we having anything on POH or proof of history going forward where the leader nodes as timestamps with cryptographic proofs of some durations of the time has passed since the last proof, that being validated and being taken care of with POH or proof of history? Is there anything we as in Acala going to plan, or it's being planned?
Hey, thank you. I think the success is actually not the team. It's actually every one of you here. The success is everyone who's contributed. Yeah, so thank you very much. So how Parachain works is we don't provide security ourselves. So even though we run collators, but those collator has no security implication. Those collators are relatively dumb. They are just collecting the information on chain and then sending it across to Polkadot to validate. So it has very low sort of bearing. Well, it has no security bearing. It has some liveness bearing. So you need at least you need only one honest collator to send the information across to Polkadot. Then you're good, right? So there's very low sort of maintenance or cost from the Parachain side to maintain collators. However, all the heavy duty is being managed by Polkadot proof of stake validators, and that's why Polkadot putting a strong emphasis on decentralization as well as validator. 1,000 validator campaign so that they can have a huge validator set, and then some of those will be allocated to each parachain, well, dynamically on chain, allocated to each parachain to validate parachain blocks. So that's how Polkadot works. So for example, if the first 5 parachains launched, and then I think each parachain will get some number of validators randomly assigned, and then they are just gonna judge the Acala chain, for example, whether the blocks are valid, whether someone's cheated or something like that. So that's how it works. And then so when you ask something about proof of this and proof of that, that's basically the consensus provided by Polkadot. And that's also the beauty of this ecosystem, is like you can actually rely on a already super high market cap layer 0 chain like Polkadot, like $50 billion worth, and that is your security for every single chain that come on board. So none of us need to make our market cap 50 billion to have the same level of support. We can focus on other stuff, right? So Polkadot took care of the hardest part, and then we just focus on other stuff. So yeah, so that's basically it. And as for if there's proof of history, if you're asking if you can build a chain with proof of history, certainly. There's already someone built a proof of work chain using Substrate. So for sure. And also you can actually customize your node to do whatever you want, basically, if you really want to. So at the current state, we haven't actually have too much thought or need or even demand for that. But when it comes to the time that we need, then certainly open to that. That's the beauty, right? You can upgrade if you want. So
let's go to Crypto's chain.
Yeah, hello. Thank you very much, Robin, and congratulations to everyone at Acala for winning, and thank you for everyone who has contributed, of course, because it also helps myself as a contributor and as a supporter of Acala since 2020. I'm one of the early supporters of Acala. I've done one of the first tutorials on the testnet, so I'm really, really happy to have had the opportunity to also talk to Dan Reeser early on. It's really, really great to see this and to see Acala grow so much. So congratulations to every one of you. And I see Brad Laurie, by the way, is also in this group listening, who's also been a huge supporter. But I'm going to get straight to the point because I don't want to waste your time. So I have a question for either Betty or Dan. What special features will the Acala DeFi dApp have over Karura that will give it, for example, some edge over Karura, aside from it being on a different ecosystem? Now that you've already gotten a chance to experiment on Karura, deploy there, and you've encountered challenges, what are we going to see on Acala that's going to be the wow? That's basically what I want to know. Thank you.
Hey, thank you so much. I certainly recognize you. It's been in the community for a really long time and doing a lot of work and contributing. So thank you so much from all angles, right? It's been a long journey for us, but we got to this point. So I think from a technical perspective, the Karura and Acala relationship is somewhat similar to Kusama and Polkadot. So everything at the substrate level, so at a lower level, that will be launched on Acala will actually go through Karura, right? So and from that perspective, then technically, all the stuff that will be launching on Acala will be launched on Karura. But that's only from a technical perspective. More from an economic or user perspective, I think there will be quite a deviation. One thing is on the economic side. Right now, they are two very independent, separate economy. Each one of them are serving a lower level proof of stake economy, namely Kusama and Polkadot, right? And they exist for that reason. However, as we move forward, you will probably see the two economies is going to be connected. So there will be bridges between Polkadot and also Kusama. And then once that happens, it will be very interesting that potentially Karura will be one of the economic centers that actually connects to Acala as two cities, like maybe Singapore and New York relationship. There's a lot more foreign trade between the two sort of continents. And then at that point, then a lot of asset created available on Karura will be able to flow freely onto Acala and vice versa and serve both ecosystems. So that's going to be very, very interesting once that happens. And then the second thing that will be interesting to see is obviously the two ecosystems are quite different at this point, and I think it's going to deviate even further. So there's a lot of on the Karura side, there's quite a bit of degen as well as NFT, metaverse play, which will probably be a more focus for Karura. Well, of course, I'm not the one to say that because once the EVM is up and it's permissionless, and the parachains, got the XCM trustlessly, communicate to each other, it's all up to who make the proposal, who are able to build together to make that happen. But I can see the trend already. There's a lot more social stuff going on, and also creative stuff going on the Karura side. Whilst Acala has a lot more attention or interest from actual, financial sort of interest from whether that's, from fintech or from e-commerce type of stuff. So I think, even today, if you have an app, they all have their customer segment. I think the two is going to be gradually but more clearly have their own customer segment that they want to, they are able to serve much better than the other chain, right? But the two is going to have an interrelationship in terms of the economic precision then that is taking to each other, right? Whether it's geographic or whether it's probably not geographic. So New York and Singapore is certainly geographically, they are differentiated to serve different people on different places, but economically they are connected. And Karura and Acala, maybe they are serving a different demographics of users, but they are economically also connected. Like a very concrete example, economic connection there is on Acala, we did 2 build Acala treasury race. And normally when a team do a race, like a public race, they take those funds and then fund the operation. We did the opposite. So we did a huge raise, close to 2 million, just over 2 million dot, I think. And then we're going to donate all of those onto the Acala treasury chain as a foreign sort of asset held by the Acala treasury. And then when we designed that, 10% of those treasury can be allocated to the the Karura treasury for funding the Karura's economic growth and some other activities that align the two economics, right? So then there's a closer tie of the two chains there. But of course, we're still very, very early in terms of exploring many of those use cases and things like that. So yeah, so I guess that's another long way to answer your question. I hope it actually helps.
Yeah, thank you very much, Betty. I appreciate it.
Cool. Let's go on to Inez. How's it going?
Yeah, it's good. It's good. Doing great,
Good to see
Dan. Hello, Robin, Betty, and Acala team. First of all, I'd like to congratulate you guys for this tremendous achievement, and I feel blessed to witness this success from the beginning. We know that Acala has announced a partnership with US-based Fintech Current back in May, and I think this is a great opportunity for more crypto banks to boom around. So the question is, are you guys planning to extend these partnerships with new parties or fintechs who are located in Europe or Middle East maybe? Thanks.
Yeah, so I think we need to give a little bit more context to this type of partnership, right? So first of all, every partnership that we announce has a lot of substance behind it. We're not quite a marketing machine. So every partnership actually behind the scene, there's a lot of work that's been done. Feasibility studies and also some tech development, proof of concept and things like that. So it's actually a long route to actually get a partnership of this sort. And then the second thing is, even we have the partnership, doesn't mean tomorrow the current users are already generating yield from us. Well, they probably will, just through our liquid dot and also liquid KSM. They probably will indirectly that way, but certainly that is not the end goal, right? This is a very, I guess, a short-term, very much a DeFi-oriented option or yield opportunity for them to participate. So, for example, Current already running nodes for us, running validator nodes, and also participating in liquid staking on Karura, and then later we'll do so for Acala and also liquidating on Acala as well. So, but that is not quite the end goal. If we were going to stop there, it's like too easy, right? So the end goal is actually the stuff that we built on Acala will serve as an infrastructure backend for folks like Current. What that means is at the front, things may not change for current customers, but behind the scene, their infrastructure can make calls either directly or through some APIs or some way or another that be able to call into our DeFi infrastructure or yield engines built on top of Acala that kind of like customize and gear towards their needs, right? So to actually reach that point, there's actually quite some steps to actually get there. Right now, we already have the first step built, so they can already kind of consume some of the lowest level of yield opportunities. So this is provided by our stablecoin plus our LDOT and also the DEX, the basic elements that we provide. You can already create very simple yield products. However, that's not the end goal, right? The end goal is like the reason why we have an open protocol layer. Right now will be powered by the EVM plus. Later can be other type of technology as well. Is the open protocol layer. We are working with some teams that build specific products that gear towards specific customer group and also end users. And those then we can also, in combination with our lower level infrastructure, and then connect back into the fintech partners, and then to complete the full cycle, right? So it will be us providing the base layer, liquidity, as well as various other instruments, and then working together with the open protocol folks, and then going up a stream to the fintech and maybe the institutions, etc., to provide an end-to-end experience. So each one of those layer takes quite a bit of work, both from a technical perspective as well as from other aspects like compliance and other stuff as well. So so I think that is sort of a lot of the background and context of that partnership. And of course, yes, so those things once built, because it's all open, right? It will be very easy for us to go to others and be able to provide those options to the other providers as well. So yeah, the short answer is like, yes, we are, but we're not going to just like, well, talk to 100 people, 1,000 partnerships coming along the way. We want to just build the experience really, really well, and then be able to expand from that point on. So yeah.
Thanks, Betty. Very much appreciated.
Cool. Next, let's go to Ryan. So I know Ryan. Ryan's from Talk Polkadot, so he's putting together this new kind of channel across several different platforms to help educate on Polkadot. So Ryan's been doing a great job. Good to see you here, Ryan. Go ahead with your question.
Thanks so much for the intro, Dan. Congrats to the whole Acala team. What an incredible achievement. We see with Karura, you guys winning the first spot, and now Acala winning the first Polkadot spot. I think what you guys have done, or what we'll be seeing, is that you've laid the groundwork for how to kind of approach and convince people to lock up their DOT for not with Kusama being the 48 weeks, but you guys now with Polkadot and the almost 2 years. Can you tell us what you guys learned in between Kusama and Acala auctions, and then with Acala, we saw some really cool things come out. The quests, you guys really approached the solving the problem of adoption in such a unique situation. Could you talk about what you guys learned, and then what advice you'd give other projects that are coming in?
That's a great question. I think there's a couple answers. So I'll start with the education part, and then I think another response to that also applies to the LC dot product that we put out. So I guess first, I basically have been observing over the last couple of years with Polkadot, and all this technology is so technical, and that also applies to any other blockchain community or ecosystem. So I guess if your question is for advice for other teams, I think just focusing on simplifying things and educating your community on how exactly your technology works, what you're building, and how that helps the world. And then also how the crowd loan actually works. This is most likely going to be the first time a lot of these people participate in this type of an event. So it's not something that anyone's used to. So taking some time to just walk people through the process, how it works. And as some of you may have seen, even we're still figuring it out. I thought the crowd loan was going to end at 8:55 a.m. and it ended at like 12:55 my time. So we're all still learning and always learning. So yeah, education I think is a big part of it. Robin also with Brett on our team and Chloe did an amazing job and just brilliant idea to come up with the quests idea. So this is like basically a gamified way of onboarding people onto Polkadot. As we all know, Polkadot.js needs significant work and can't wait for Talisman to come out and other wallets to make it much easier on users to use Polkadot. So we did this to basically help onboard people, learn how to install Polkadot.js and learn how to contribute to these crowd loans. And that turned out to be a huge factor, I think, in why we had so many on-chain contributors. And through the on-chain contributions, as Betty mentioned earlier, about 75% of the people who contributed to the Acala crowd loan, they used the new product that we built called LC Dot. So that's the second part of the answer to your question, Ryan, is one thing we learned is that there was just a lot of people who were coming to us saying this lockup period for Kusama was long at a year, but for Polkadot, it's really long, for 2 years. So we started taking that feedback to heart, and Brian and Betty and the team who are extremely talented engineers, they basically solved the problem on our own. So they created this product that's essentially a derivative, basically a representation of the dot that anyone contributes to the crowd loan. So sure, the dot that you put into the crowd loan is still locked for 2 years. You can't solve that problem. But there's this LC dot token that everyone will be issued along with their ACA if you did that option. So that was a technical learning that we took away from Karura that I think a lot of people are going to appreciate when they receive their ACA and LC dot that they can use however they'd like. And just so people know, if you did use LC dot, please be aware of how it works. Please read about it. Ask us questions in our Discord. This is a representation of the dot that you contributed to the crowd loan, and it's the only way for you to get your dot back after 2 years. So if you take your LC dot and you trade it for dot, so you can stake your dot, you won't have the receipt back for your original dot. So you'd have to figure out a way to get LC dot back in order to redeem that dot. So just be careful. Make sure that you know how it works, and just understand that LC dot token is kind of precious to you because that's the only way to get back your dot that you contributed to the crowd loan.
Thanks so much. Hopefully you guys are popping champagne and get a little more sleep.
Thanks, man.
We need it.
Ray. Go ahead, Robin.
Oh, I was going to say, I have a couple stats on the quests as well. I'd love to share.
Go for it.
Just kind of piggybacking off of your answer there. I we did this a little earlier when we were celebrating right at the end of the auction. As soon as we found out the winner, we kind of had a team internal meeting, and we had this amazing sort of love fest where we all just complimented each other. We talked about how much we all love collaborating with each other and what our favorite parts of this entire Crowdloan experience has been. And kind of a recurring theme was, our relationships, our ability to include the community in being transparent about what's happening with the education, talking to lots of different audiences, people who are new to crypto, people who are new to DeFi, but also our Karura community, who is a little more embedded into DeFi products and the ecosystem. And then also, I'd be remiss if I didn't say that, we've really beefed up and have a strong team support. Josh is here in the chat, I think. Our support team is amazing. We're just, I think all of this stuff contributed to just a great showing for the Crowdloan. And hopefully we'll keep this moving forward. But I want to say with the Quest project, that was an awesome initiative to onboard people to using Polkadot.js wallet. And whether or not they used it to contribute to our Crowdloan or to another Parachain, it's a win because we're bringing in new folks into this Polkadot ecosystem. So on those numbers, 87,000, over 87,000 in total worked on the Quest to create a Crowdloan compatible wallet. And then 59,900 about actually seeded their wallet with some DOT and moved on to actually support the Crowdloan. So, I mean, when you look at that tied with our on-chain participants in the actual event, which is over 81,000, it's just an incredible crossover. So it's just been exciting to have this data, and we'll have more in our retrospective in the coming days. But to have this actual data to show like what we had a hunch on to be true, that education is really key. People are hungry to know about this space, and they just need nice educational resources and the support to get there. So we're excited to grow that program.
Yep, and if there are any teams listening, never hesitate to send us a message. We're always happy to hop on a call and help you guys like plan and brainstorm on how to approach this, because we want everyone to succeed and join us. So cool, thanks, Robin. So Ray, good to see you. Maybe introduce yourself, Ray. Ray is a good friend of the Acala team for quite a while. And if you have a question or anything, that'd be great to hear.
Cool. Thanks, Dan. Congratulations, team. On behalf of our co-founding team, we're here to celebrate. It's a starting morning in New Zealand. Yeah, so in the last couple of weeks, I personally been watching your Twitter and the Parachain movement more than CMC. So yeah, it's a really good result. Yeah, so it's great to see the outcome. And just a quick question: are you planning to enable, burn your gas fees also on Acala network? Also, we have some requirement. People want to bring their gas fees for some large organization, those projects. So how do you manage the treasury? Because those gas fees will be going to a treasury or their treasury. So I thought to see your thoughts. Well done, team, by the way.
Oh, thanks, Ray. So Ray is co-founder of Big Country, also a fellow New Zealander that we kind of help brainwash to build in the Polkadot ecosystem along the way. So really happy to see you here. So for our Bring Your Gas system, ultimately it settles into the network token. It's ACA for Acala. As long as there's liquidity between the ACA token and any of the token that you want to trade, then there's a path to be able to pay your gas fee in any token. And then with the ability to customize the logic, there's also a possibility of paying on behalf. So imagine an organization deploy a smart contract, and they can actually pay on behalf of their users with all the gas fees. And then or some other type of models as well, subscription and things like that. So those are two. Those are not that much related to the gas fee, but more related to our EVM can actually do the customization, so that, for example, maybe there's an e-commerce platform, right? And then folks on the e-commerce side, if you're transferring some loyalty points, why do you pay gas, right? So that's so odd. So then the e-commerce contract, it can actually just pay for the fees on behalf of the users, and then the users just get a benefit out of the offering. So that would be the way that I would think it would probably be most usable. But of course, every case will probably be slightly different. But if you've got the means to customize, then you've got a way to solve the problems. I hope that helps, Ray.
Yeah, it's super helpful. Just to let everyone know that we also receive a lot of technical support from the Acala's team, and also we're being inspired by Acala's team leading the culture for the entire Polkadot ecosystem and the community. We share the same value here, and then that's why we also had a really good outcome on our Kusama Parachain just last week. Thanks everyone, really appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thanks, Ray. So it looks like, Ruslan, you were trying to speak earlier. I'm going to invite you back on. It looks like you're trying again.
Yeah, sorry, had some connection problems. Thank you for this session and congratulations on the winning. It's great job. My question is following. Could you please remind the token distribution system? I mean, as I understand, 20% will be available from the day one, and other 80% are linearly vesting. Will it be the same for build Acala participants, or it's somehow different? Thank you.
So for Crowdloan participants, you actually get all the coins when it's being distributed, but on chain there's a vesting schedule being done on chain. So basically, you see your full balance of your total reward on your wallet, and then 20% of those will be liquid upfront, so you can use it in whatever ways you want. And then the 80%, the remaining, will be vested through the entire lease period. So that's for the Crowdloan only. As for Build Acala, I think each one of those two events would have its own rules. So you have to figure out which event you went to, and then there's some vesting, I think, for Build Acala too. That's different from the Crowdloan. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Cool. Let's go to Raj. I just invited you to stage.
Thank you. Congratulations, Acala team. Amazing achievement. And I think you deserve a little bit of a break before you start getting back to work again. The challenge with coming on afterwards, I thought of two questions, but they've been kind of asked or covered. So what I will just touch on briefly is what Robin talked about. I think one of the big achievements of your win and sort of what your efforts have been has been the adoption and sort of bringing on board a lot of new users and new people to the community, the Polkadot and the Kusama community. So I think that is a sort of not recognized as widely. So I think you need to be sort of acknowledged for doing your massive effort to sort of growing this community. Now, my question is similar on the same lines. As sort of being some of the leaders in the Dotsama ecosystem, what sort of plans do you have to bring, say, another few 100 million people into sort of the wider Polkadot and the DeFi ecosystem? Are you going to go and sort of target partners, or are you going to go and try and go sort of educate the partners, or are you going directly to consumer as such?
Yeah, did you say 100 million? Just so I can get...
I'm talking about 1 billion, but let's start with a few 100 billion.
Yeah, I think this kind of relates to what Betty was saying earlier about the fintechs that Inez was asking about. This is where I really see not only Acala, but a lot of crypto or DeFi projects being able to expand our audiences into a more mainstream audience and a much wider in terms of the number of people. If you're talking about 100 million or 1 billion people, a billion people are not going to come into crypto using MetaMask and Polkadot.js. I can guarantee that. But a billion people might come into crypto eventually using apps that they use every day on their phones already. So the most exciting thing for me is things like our partnership with Current and the growing list of fintech companies that we'll be working with over the coming years. Because people are able to use these applications that were built for all ages of people. Like if you think to the way Apple builds its products, it can be used by kids to our grandparents. So same thing with these fintech apps. If you have a savings account app, it can just as easily offer you 3 or 4 or 5% yield in an account, but the user doesn't have to know that in the background that yield is actually being generated by Acala. And there's no need for public and private keys and Polkadot.js or Talisman or any of these wallets. You can just meet them where they are and meet them in a place where they feel comfortable. So that's the exciting thing to me is, and really where I see us growing into the 100 million to a billion people is bringing crypto to fintech and banking versus making people come into crypto.
Great. Yeah, that sounds good. And the sort of a little bit of a follow-on question: how can we as a community within our community help Acala and sort of the wider sort of other projects in the system achieve that? You know, are there any sort of initiatives that you would work across projects or across individual projects that we as a community could sort of work with and help?
Yes, specifically on like business development or technology. I think the best way that people can help, I mean, if you're interested in like growing these partnerships and actually building them, go to either just Google Acala jobs. We're hiring across the board and growing very quickly. So if there's anyone on the call who's skilled in really any way, feel free to look at our website. And if you don't see a job and you feel like you'd be a good fit or you're excited about Acala, just there's an application for people who don't have a job listed there. It's just like a kind of blank application. So come work with us would be answer number one. And then for the second part, I would say Robin would probably have a good perspective on how else you can get involved in the community and how you can help.
Yeah, our community has been growing so much in the past few months, and we actually have an ambassador program, which is we have over 100 ambassadors now. I will say there are about over 900 applicants, but that just kind of speaks to how serious we're taking the program in terms of making sure that we onboard the best and brightest and most passionate in DeFi and growing the Web3 ecosystem. You can find the link to our Discord in our link tree on the Acala Twitter profile, and I feel free to either DM me on Twitter or find me on Discord, and we'll make sure that you have the right path to get into the ambassador program. I have to thank the Acala ambassadors and the senior ambassadors. They've done an outstanding job educating everyone in the community, not only about what's to come, but the Crowdloan, the Parachain auctions, the entire Polkadot ecosystem. And they take on contributions from everything from hosting events, having language-specific groups to make sure that we're truly a global community. And there's just new ideas every day, including development ideas. So if you're interested in being an Acala ambassador, I just encourage you to drop me a line and talk to us in the Discord.
Thanks. And congratulations once again.
Thank
Awesome.
you.
Thank you.
Okay. I believe I invited someone to stage, but it looks like they didn't accept. Let's see if there's anyone else here. Let's try Eric. I'm inviting Eric to stage, and we'll take a few more questions before we wrap up, and maybe this might be the last question, actually, since we're at the end of the hour. But Eric.
Yes, congratulations for that big achievement. Okay, my name is Eric, and I have a quick question. I contributed to the project, but I kind of joined the ARMA right now. I was a bit late. So I just wanted to ask, after doing the contribution, and right now I can't see any balances on my wallet. So I just wanted to know how to go moving forward.
Yeah, sure. So first of all, if you contributed either way, like if you contributed directly or via the liquid Crowdloan dot, you can go to our website, acala.network, I think /join -Acala, and then there's a check reward session, and just put in your account. Then you should be able to see all your rewards there. So there will be a transition period where that will be the only place that you can check rewards. And then once we go live, as I mentioned, between December the 15th and also 30 days after that. So that is the period that we will actually distribute those rewards onto your account. And then once those rewards, like both LC dot, well, if you have it chose that path as well as the ACA rewards, then it will actually appear on your Acala wallet account. And then that wallet account is the same account as your contribution account, but with a Acala sort of address format to it. So yeah, so that is if you contributed via our website. But if you contributed via exchanges or some other means, then it's up to them when and how they're going to distribute it. So yeah.
All right, thank you so much. So in that case, I will get mine on Polka Wallet.
Oh, yeah, sure. So Polka Wallet is a non-custodial wallet, so you're probably pretty sweet. Once we distributed those rewards, it will show up on your Polka Wallet Acala balances. Yeah.
All right, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Cool. Thanks for your support. Let's go to one last question here, and before we wrap up, Arash, are you able to join?
Hi. Yes.
Hi.
How are you doing? Congratulations first on securing a Parachain slot. I represent the Persian community. I produce content and try to educate about Polkadot and its ecosystem. So I've been following you guys for quite some time. My question would be if you could a little bit more in details explain about the functions of LC-Dot and DeFi applications you've envisaged for it. And also, if you let me just ask the second question, would be for some of the community who staked the DOT for Acala in centralized exchanges such as Binance, and they were wondering if they would get their rewards more or less at the same time, or will it be a time difference between the two? Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much for supporting us. And then great questions. So yeah, for LC dot, the fundamental design logic for LC dot is really simple. It serves as a receipt for your contributed dot. So if you contributed 100 dot, you get 100 LC dot token as a representative of your contribution. If you HODL LC dot token for the entire lease period, and then at the end of it, there is a on-chain redeem process that basically you burn your LC dot or send your LC dot back to us, and then the Acala chain will give you back your dot. So that is basically it. It's a little bit like you go to a bank and then you make a deposit, and then you guys probably don't have it, but in the old ways, you actually get a booklet where they actually printed how much balance and deposit you have, and then you can actually use that booklet to claim back your deposit into the bank in a savings account or something like that. Nowadays, it's all online, but the logic is similar, but it's basically tokenized. So that is the most fundamental part of it. So if you HODL it in 2 years' time, you redeem your dots back. But then why the liquid format is cool? Because all it does is give people options, right? We don't necessarily have to determine exactly what those options are, but we do give people options. For example, the basic function is you can transfer it, right? So you can move it from one wallet to another. You can, if you participated using a Polkadot.js, right? You might want to move some of those LC dot into custody or into a more secure wallet, or maybe just like send those dots to your friends or whatever. You're free to transfer those. As soon as you transfer it, the ownership of the LC dot obviously moving from your wallet to the new wallet. And the new wallet, whoever's holding those LC dot as an owner, like having those at balance, in 2 years' time, it has a redeemable right to the underlying dot, one-to-one to the LC dot that you hold. So that is number one. So that's why we call it liquid dot, is because it's liquid, so it can transfer in and out. And potentially the LC dot could be listed somewhere, and then you can start a trading pair. And then folks who actually want early liquidity, like they want to offload the LC dot because they might want to exchange dot back, so that they can go staking or maybe bid for another Crowdloan, or do something else. So that's one way. And then another way is they want to go straight from LC dot, maybe just like a stake you earning dot, like L dot. So there's probably also going to be trading pairs for those as well. And then the third thing is we already have a team who built like a better curve for trading. For the basic Acala DEX, it's only for the purpose of settling the transaction fees and things like that. So there's another team who's building a better curve like trading engine. They have a better curve for similarly tracking dots, right? Because for LC dot and L dot, LC dot and dot, there's almost none, not so much impermanent loss, because ultimately they're all dots, right? It's mostly at how much discount you actually give to LC dot. So those trading pairs on those type of engine will be a lot more interesting as well once they come on board and deploy their modules and also smart contracts as well. So that's the second opportunity there, is like trade. And then the third one is obviously LC dot is quite a sound asset, especially with such a big liquidity, right? If we only have 100,000 LC dot, then you worry about how liquid it is to become a collateral. So now with the $1 billion plus liquidity, it's currently being assessed by Ganglet, the economic auditor of ours, to kind of like verify that it's going to make a good collateral for leveraging, so borrowing. So the third way is you can leverage your LC dot and then borrow the dollar, and then you can go back and, I guess, do more trades, and then leverage up your position to double your yield potentially. So that is the third way. And then the fourth way is really up to innovators, right? The fourth way is potentially you could deploy money markets, or use LC dot as collateral to borrow other assets as well. It is as good as dot, right? It just has a time sort of stamp on it, but it's as good as dot. So there's a lot more sort of ways others can actually build than the basic, the three things that we provide, from the get-go. So so hopefully that's going to open a lot more doors for innovation, and also for people to use it. So so that's that. And then the second question regarding supporting us via exchanges like Binance. So if you are supporting us on Binance, you're already getting the B dot as their liquid form. So I think you can use the B dot. I don't know what their plans for their B dot, but I'm assuming that you probably can trade it as well, but within Binance, of course. So hopefully that answers both of your questions.
Thank you very much. Yes, I much appreciate it. Yeah, and good luck with the challenge ahead.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome, thanks. So I think we're going to wrap up. I'm just going to give a quick just summary and overview of Acala, because I think there's probably a lot of people here who are relatively new. So if you're new to Acala, what we're building and what we're launching on December 18th on Polkadot is a layer 1 blockchain. So if you know, obviously, Ethereum and Solana and Terra, these are all examples of independent layer 1 blockchains. And every blockchain that connects to Polkadot, as we call them parachains, is a layer 1 blockchain that will have its own kind of flourishing ecosystem on top. So Acala has chosen to build on Polkadot because it allowed us to customize our blockchain for a specific use case. And we chose to build our blockchain for DeFi. So we've got a stable coin, the Acala dollar, which is AUSD, that you'll be seeing very soon, and that will become kind of the de facto stable coin of the Polkadot ecosystem. This is a decentralized stable coin, which is very important nowadays. Similar to DAI, the
the purpose that it served for the Ethereum ecosystem, and then like today we're seeing with UST the position that it has in the Terra ecosystem. AUSD will serve a similar purpose for Polkadot and also beyond as we start having bridges pop up and things like that. A couple other products that are built into the blockchain itself. So liquid dot staking is coming, and then we'll have a DEX built into the blockchain. And all of that will be kind of at the base layer. On top of that, we'll have a EVM environment that we're calling EVM Plus, because as Betty mentioned earlier, if you were on the call, we've customized our EVM, which is why it's taken a little bit longer for us to push out, because the EVM, we felt like it should do much more than just what Ethereum can do. So we custom built our EVM to be able to be kind of the best of both worlds between Ethereum and Substrate, which is the framework that Gavin Wood and team built after he built Ethereum. So that's Acala in a nutshell. As soon as the EVM is up, there'll be teams coming and building DeFi, NFT, even loyalty point programs on the EVM. And then we'll just kind of see how things go from there on. On the other side of things, aside from the kind of crypto native side, we also covered today our Fintech integration. So our good friends in New York at Current.com are building a DeFi basically connection between their Fintech app for their 3 million customers, connecting to Acala and our DeFi kind of yield backend that we're able to bring them. So all in all, thanks everybody for coming. We had a lot of really good questions, and thanks everybody for the support throughout the last 2.5 years as Betty and Brian and Rui Tao and Fu Yao have been building Acala. It didn't go unnoticed back when we were even doing the testnet campaigns and then the Build Acala events this year, and everyone who's in the ambassador program, and all the support has been phenomenal. I think now we're over 800,000 people across all the Acala and Karura channels. So just really exciting growth before Acala has even launched, and next year should just be even more fun. So thanks everybody for the support in the Crowdloan, helping us secure this spot in the first 5 parachains to launch on December 18th. We're really looking forward to seeing who else is going to be joining us on the 18th. I know Moonbeam has a good shot at the next one, and then the other teams will have to just be cheering them on. So everybody have a great day wherever you are. And thanks again for the really strong support. And we look forward to seeing you again soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. We'll see you soon.
Cool. Thanks, Betty. Thanks, Robin.